All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, What Fills You Up? An Exploration of Work, Play, and Profession, brought to you by your Vanderbilt Alumni Association. I'm Sarah Whitney Anderson, Assistant Director of Alumni and Student Engagement, and I'm so glad you could join us from wherever you are this afternoon. Today's webinar will last around 45 minutes with time at the end for questions. Please feel free to type questions as you have them into the question box on the side panel of your screen throughout the presentation. And we will make sure that these are addressed in some way before our time is up. We will also be recording today's webinar, so if you have any questions at a later time, you can refer back to our link, which will be in a survey and email posted to you later next week. Many of you know our presenter today from previous alumni career offerings here at Vanderbilt, and I'm so excited she's back with us for this wonderful presentation. Dayle A. Savage lives her life at the intersection of leadership and learning. She is a leadership coach and people strategy consultant. Currently through her firm, Spira Learning, LLC, she is supporting individuals and teams in her work as a professional certified coach through the International Coaching Federation. Her clients often find themselves in transition, perhaps in their work with a new or big project, or perhaps in the beginning of a new opportunity. A retired faculty member at Vanderbilt University, Dayle was a program director of the Leadership and Organizational Performance Master's Program at Peabody College. She also designed and led Peabody Career Services for 10 years. Through her leadership, 93 to 97% of the graduates seeking employment were employed 90 days post-graduation. This is a statistic rivaled by many peer institutions. To realize value and inspire the possibilities held by human spirit is her passion. Contact Dayle in Nashville, and I will include her email in an email later on. I'm so excited to now turn this afternoon's presentation over to Dayle.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here with all of you. And I am excited about our topic. I understand many of you are interested in this. And so let's start with what fills you up. There we go. So I love this quote. Oprah Winfrey is inspirational to me. But I do love it that she says, you know you're on the road to success when you would do your job and not be paid for it. Wow. Now that is the love of work, right? But I find that we are, as human beings, we find ourselves in many different phases and places in our work life. We hear people talk about passion, purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. So I want to talk a little bit about all three of those things. Passion, the question I have, is this something that you would do until your last breath? Is that how passionate you would be about this type of work? Or what about the word purpose? You know, is it about, I feel good about the service that my company provides or the work that I do? Or what about meaning? Is your work only meaningful if it is in service to others or you're helping someone? That is what I find interesting about this whole topic. You know, a person will spend about a total of 90,360 hours at work in one's lifetime. That's if you calculate 40 hours a week from the ages of 20 to 65. 90,000 hours, folks. So for most of us, that's 25 to 30% of our work life of our lifetime is spent working. I am also very enamored with the work of Daniel Cole and Adam Grant. There's a wonderful short interview of Daniel Cole, and he's talking about shallow and deep fun. Because for a lot of us, what would fulfill us is, okay, could this be a little bit more fun? Because I don't know if we work life or have fun in life. I know for me, I want both. So Coyle talks about shallow fun, and really he's talking about those organizations that are adding pool tables and ping pong tables and foosball tables and happy hours and all of this kind of peripheral fun into the workplace, hoping that psychologically you will deduce that, by golly, because I'm having fun, this a fun place to work, and isn't this fulfilling to me because I'm having fun at work? When he talks about deep fun, he's talking about allowing the organization or the leaders in the organization to really have the employees help solve those difficult problems. So, for example, they want to redo the onboarding process at this particular company, and they ask a group of employees to be responsible for it, because we've all been through onboarding. Some of it is okay, most of it is just okay, and we want to make sure that this organization says, you know what, you've been through it, help us make it better. That would be great, and you would solve this problem for us, because we get really bad reviews on this. They also talk about investing employees in this thing that is known as employee engagement, which is so very important for employers. And they think about their net promoter score. In other words, would you enlist another friend of yours to come to work at your organization? When you do that, you're promoting your organization. You're saying, it's fulfilling to me, it's good for me, I'm paid well here. It hits all the markers that we like to see when we think about what is fulfilling in our work. Now, this is not only about work. This conversation is also about what's fulfilling in play and what's fulfilling in the profession that you have landed on. And many authors talk about fulfillment that cannot come only from work. It is part of it, and I want us to keep that in mind as we continue our conversation today. So I'm clicking through my next slide here. There we go. So my accomplished today, I don't only like to accomplish things, I like to create lists. So I've combined that word for accomplished. So I have some big questions, I have some key questions. I want to look at a framework for fulfillment, and I want to ask you, what fills you up? So first, let's start with a compelling conversation. So when you talk about yourself, what is compelling? So here's a few questions I want to ask. What does the ideal look like to you? Well, ideal is an interesting word because, first of all, does it exist? What are the categories or the divisions or the calibrations that we have to make to understand ideal? I look at ideal having three components. One is time, one is money, and the other is quality. So if something is ideal for me, it's like, wow, I get to spend the right, and I'm using air quotes, the right amount of time on whatever it is that I'm doing. If I'm being compensated, I'm being paid fairly, equitably, strongly for the contribution I'm about to make. And I want my experience to be of the utmost quality. You see, if you are looking only for, I want to do this in the least amount of time and make the most amount of money, the quality may suffer. If you want to make a great amount of money and have a wonderful product or experience at the end, high quality, well, that might take a lot of time. And if you have all the time in the world and a lot of quality goes into this, it may cost you a great deal of money. On the flip side of that, you might put adequate amount of time in something, and it's on par quality. It may be really cheap. It may not cost as much. Or you may try to drive the price up, but the quality and the time spent on whatever it is you're doing will not be ideal. The second question I have, seeing the wrong button here. Second question I have is, what excites you? So excitement is a really interesting question when it comes to how our life may be fulfilling, because many people are thrill seekers. They're looking for excitement, they're looking for bigger, faster, greater, most wonderful, use all the superlatives you can think of. But actually, what is excitement? What excites you? Because for some people, like yours truly, I find excitement in a compliment. When someone compliments my work, I tell you what, I will walk through fire for that person. Like, oh, I did a good job for you. Thank you so much. Wait till next time. That excites me. I also like to give compliments because when I see a job well done, when I see someone learning, when I see someone experience exactly what they want to experience, that's a very exciting place for me to be. Because what truly excites me is development and to see people grow and learn and become whatever it is they want to be. Next question is, when is good? So I love this question because people say, well, I don't know when this might happen. I don't know when would be a good time. I don't know if this is like, oh my goodness, we're living in the land of I don't know. So when is good? Do we have to wait? Are we postponing our good? Because I say the time is now. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to begin to talk about, think about, write about what it is that you want for you and your life. Finally, how will I remember you? Now, this topic is something, again, near and dear to my heart, because I do believe that each one of you on the phone today is a differentiator. You will differentiate on how you show up at work, at home, in your life, with your significant other, with your family, and all your friends. Each one of us is unique, and those unique qualities that we bring to any situation is extremely important. So how will you be remembered? If you can explain to me what the ideal situation is for you, what excites you about that situation, when is a good time to call upon you to have that experience with you, I think I'll remember you. I think you'll be able to have a compelling conversation with me that will allow me to remember you, to assist you, to help you, and to make sure that you are getting exactly what you need to be successful. So I now have some key questions that I want to pose, and I hope that each of you either have your computer or a tablet, your smartphone, maybe paper and pencil or pen that you can write with, because these questions I think are really important, and I want to give you enough time to think about them. And they really come in three categories. I call them the maintainers, the drainers, and the propellers. So first of all, what does it mean to maintain? Well, maintain enables a condition or state to continue. What I want to know are who are the people and what are the situations in your life that maintain you. I'd love for you to list those. So when I talk about maintaining, it's like, okay, this is the person that says, you've got this, I trust you, I know you can do this, you've done it before, just do what you did before and that will be terrific. That'll be wonderful. That's exactly what we need. It's also the situation that is comfortable, that is familiar, that is one that, like, okay, this feels like putting on your favorite pair of shoes and walking around for a very long time. This is maintenance, and it's really key, and all of us have this experience in our work life, our play life, and our professional lives. So take a few minutes, think about the people, write down a couple names, and maybe one or two situations that maintain you. Next, I want to talk about those drainers. So to be drained is to deprive you of strength or vitality. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of people in my life through my life, that have taken my energy. I mean, they just drain me. After one conversation with them, it's like, holy cow, I am absolutely depleted. And so who or what drains you? Maybe there are certain tasks or certain jobs that you have to do in the course of a day or week or quarter in your work life. And you say, oh, golly, if that could just come and go, I would be so much happier, because it drains you. We typically spend a lot of time talking and thinking about the things that drain us. But it is important to recognize who and what they are and be specific. So take 15 seconds, write that down. And finally, let's talk about the propellers. So to propel is to set in motion, particularly in a forward direction. Now, there is a lot of possibility and promise behind a propeller. They are going to take you in the direction of your good. They're not only going to tell you that you can do it, they're going to encourage you to do even more, to set your sights, go for it, climb the mountain, get out there and do it. So, who are those people? Or what situations have you been in that continuously propel you? It's like, wow, I could do that every day, all day long. I love it. Now, I use love sparingly because that's a pretty powerful word. And when you love something, it's like, this is it. What propels you? Who propels you? Who's there for you all the time? Whenever you need them, you can call them in the middle of the night. Propellers. Okay, so hopefully you have a few names and or situations in the three columns, or with the three words that I've mentioned. Back in 2008 at the World Economic Summit, Bill Gates made a wonderful statement. He talked about the two great forces of human nature, and those forces are self-interest and caring for others. Now, it's pretty easy to see the people who have self-interest only, they may be falling in your drainer category. The people who are caring for others are maintaining and or propelling. Now, what I want to ask you is, where do you fall? Are you only in this for yourself, or are you giving to others and caring for others? In Adam Grant's work, and Adam is a professor, a tenured faculty member at Wharton School. In fact, he was the youngest tenured faculty member at 28 years old at the Wharton School. A fantastic thinker, and if you're not on his Twitter account or following him in some way, I would ask you all to do so. Adam's written a book called Givers and Takers. Kind of takes these two categories and says, okay, where are we? And an image you can see is the person who brings the box of donuts to work and puts them in the break room for everyone to take, and the person who never brings the donuts but always goes in and takes one. Okay, the givers and the takers. Are they the drainers, the propellers, the maintainers? The one thing that Grant talks about in his research and in this book is how organization really needs to look at the givers and help them understand what their role is, because those are the folks that most often will get burnt out. They have to understand that they need to be their own agent for change. They need to be reliable and yet take care of themselves in the workforce. It is a wonderful read and something that I think goes very well with what we're talking about here today, and that's how you are fulfilled at work. Because I know you are noticing things. If you're on this call, you're on this call because you either want more of it and you want to understand how you can get it. So let's move on to the topic of fulfillment. So fulfillment is the achievement of something desired, promised, or predicted. Satisfaction or happiness is a result of fully developing one's ability or character. Now, this is a terrific topic because it is important, as I said earlier, not only in your work life, but true fulfillment happens in every area of your life. So please be careful. Please be careful, because we want fulfillment at work, but if we are not fulfilled at home, in our personal relationships, the activities that we choose to do, the hobbies that we may or may not have, then your total life will be out of sync. And that, my friend, is not really where we want to see you. Remember I said earlier, too, about all that time we spend at work? Well, there's that adage, all work, no play. Could make you very dull and boring. We don't want that. So let's talk a little bit about fulfillment. So fulfillment really lives on this equidistant cross, if you will, and it is multidirectional. So you'll see that the first part of fulfillment is about inspiration. The next piece is about being useful. The next piece is about respect, or RESPECT, find out what it means to me. And finally, growing or development. Now, I first saw this work by Margaret Stewart, who at that time was the vice president of product at Facebook. And she did a wonderful job of explaining this and looking at inspiration first. So inspiration is like, am I inspired? Does this place help me be inspired every day? Does it inspire me? Is it driving a lot of energy that I bring to work every day? Is it helping me saying, yep, I'm bouncing out of bed and I want to go to work? Because it's really important to feel inspired by the mission of the company or the organization that you work for. Do you want to be a part of that? And yes, it waxes and wanes throughout our careers or our time at any organization. Not every day is sunshine and lollipops. It is peaks and valleys, but on balance, are you inspired? Are you proud to tell people where you work? Are you inspired by your organization's leaders? Are you inspired by your manager or the team that you're leading right now? Are there specific projects that you get to work on that make you very happy to do so? Let's move on to useful. So useful. So what are the things that you're best at? In other words, what are your superpowers? And how are you being able to use those at work? So does your unique set of skills position you to have impact in your organization? Sometimes an individual can be very, very talented, but their particular skills aren't being used in the workplace or in a given context. So you may want to really take a look at how you are being useful to your organization. Am I useful? And sometimes you may realize that maybe there's another team at work, maybe there's another position within your own company that might be better suited for you than the one you're in right now. You see, you can find fulfillment in the same organization, it just may not be from the same seat. Now, how about respect? Well, I really need to feel that my skills and talents are being not only utilized, but that people find my work of value. It's not the same thing as being useful. In fact, you can you can be exactly what an organization or a team needs, but they don't necessarily show it or know it. So it's important that you are respected in a way and that is shown to you, because it can cause you to be very, very frustrated at work if you're not. And then, of course, there's growing. So most of us want to be developing each and every day. Over time, we want to get better at what we're doing. We want to learn something new. And if your employer or your boss or where you're working is not allowing you to grow and have different assignments and do different types of work, give you different types of responsibility, that too can become very, very frustrating. Many different ways to grow. It can be developing a new skill, learning how to manage people, enhancing your soft skills like collaboration or communication, or even conflict resolution. You can get better at all of these things. One of the things I'm asked about a lot is how to give better feedback at work. So performance feedback, whether you're giving and or receiving it, is an area of growth for a lot of people. So let's do this. Why don't you take your piece of paper, pencil, pen, smartphone, tablet, and draw this diagram for me very quickly. Because what I would like to do is I would like to see where you are now. So if you look at the midpoint where the two lines cross and you go up to the word inspired, imagine that arrow has, there are 10 hash marks. So 0 to 10. Am I inspired today? 0 to 10. Where is your mark on that line? And then do the same thing for useful. From the midpoint, which is where the cross is, 0 and out to the arrow to the word useful, 10 hash marks, 0 to 10. Are you useful? The same with respect, 0 to 10. Are you respected in your workplace? And finally, what about growth? Are you growing and developing? 0 to 10. It might look something like this. There we are. And so what you see, I've connected all the dots now to create this interesting diamond shape. It's a little lopsided, okay? But it looks like my inspiration might be at a 6.5, 7. My usefulness might be at about a 4, perhaps. Respected, it maybe looks like 6. And am I growing? I might be at about a 1.5, 2, maybe 3. So my next question, of course, is where do you want to be tomorrow? So what would you like this to look like? In terms of inspiration, if you're off the charts, maybe you need to back that down a little bit and get real. Maybe you want to keep it exactly where it is at number 10. If you chose 10 for all of these, I might have to question that and then see, why are you on that call? Now, if you're not, it might look something like this. That growth is, you want to really be growing and developing, and you want to be inspired by your work. Useful? Yeah, you want to be right, maybe at the midpoint. I don't know. It's up to you. Finally, how about respect? Yes, look at here. You want to be respected, which gets you right back to growth. So it's interesting to see because now we have a gap. And what lives in the gap is all the possibility for you and what comes next. So what does come next? We have looked at a couple things today that I hope have been very helpful for you. One, we've looked at this triangle grid of fulfillment, and I think these are key areas to really consider when it comes to your work and to your life, because you can do the same thing in terms of your relationships, in terms of the fun that you want to have in your life, the leisure time that you spend, how you are seen by your significant other, your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or how you are seen by your boss, the work life that you're experiencing. So I find that we have key actions now are the key takeaway for you right now is getting into action. So we have the takeaways of what maintains you, what drains you, what propels you. I've asked you a lot of questions today. I also wanted to look at the 4 dimensions of job fulfillment: the inspiration, the usefulness, the respect, growth. And you've graphed that, I hope, for what you see. So now it's time to get into action. So here's an opportunity for you. I want to offer each one of you on this call a 45-minute coaching session with me. You'll experience the impact of coaching as we look at the actions, what lives in that gap, and look at the actions you might want to take. You'd have the chance to check me out as coach, and I'd be able to see if you're the kind of person that I can really help move you forward, propelling. To create a life that you want that is more fulfilled, brings you more joy, and have more enriching experiences is what we can do together. My email is right here, daylesavage@gmail.com. So if you email me today, we can schedule that 45-minute call and appointment. I'll make that happen for you. And so with that, I would love to open it up for questions. Please.
Yes, if you have any questions, please submit those to the question tab on your poll, or on your tab, sorry. We will wait for a couple of minutes for you to send in any and all of your questions. So we have one question, and it is, so I'm not feeling respected by my boss, and I'm working on that relationship. Dayle, what would you say to that?
Well, in terms of the fulfillment diamond, I'd wonder where did you put yourself in terms of being useful? Where did you put yourself in terms of being inspired? And what about your own growth? What is it that is disturbing to your boss? We'd really want to talk about that. Not getting along means, are they dissatisfied with your work? Is it a personality conflict? There might be several different things that are happening. So that's what I have for that one.
Wonderful. So our next question is, any suggestions on how to close the gap we discover in life and work?
suggestions on how to close that gap between life and work. So I'm not following that question.
Okay.
I'm going to make an assumption. All right. So here's the assumption I'm going to make. I'm going to assume that the gap between the work-life balance maybe is too wide. And so I'm thinking, all righty, so you want to close that gap. I believe what is so very important there is that we have to consider what are the expectations of us at work, and what are the expectations we have of our employer. So if you see that the expectations are unrealistic, then I would probably coach you into having a conversation with your manager or whomever the expectations seem out of sort with. If these are your personal expectations of what you think this job should be, then we have to talk about that, and does that make sense for the job description you've been given and what you've been told? If those things don't match, well, we go down a different path. Now, if this is really about your work life and you're not getting enough lifetime, if you will, again, air quotes, then I would take a look at what is it that you want to spend your time doing. Is it that you just want to stop working so much? Okay, so I would ask you to back down from that slowly. So if you think you have to put in this much time, then I would ask you to back that up 3 hours a week. And I don't know where you're going to find those hours. Maybe it's going to be, can you leave work early one day? And early, I mean, you've been working over until 7 o'clock every night. Well, can you leave at 6? I'd ask you, are you taking lunch? Because that is a break time, and that gets you your life back. So many of us do not take lunch. We stay at that desk all day, eat our lunch, answer our own personal emails, do all kinds of things at work. Get up and get out of there. Also, I would ask you, what are the hobbies? What is it that you're not doing that you really enjoy doing? How can we find the time to make that happen? So we have to look at expectations. We have to look at time. We have to look at the quality of the work that you are doing and what is really being asked of you. I hope that helps.
I love it. So our next question is, if you had to choose just one thing to work on as a matter of priority to find and maintain fulfillment, what would that be?
If I had to choose one thing to work on, matter of priority to find and maintain fulfillment, what would that be? Well, I know for me, my life centers around people. I am with and around people a great deal, whether I'm in a team setting or facilitating workshops or coaching one-on-one. I do get a lot of juice from being around people. What I know for me is that when I identified the source of my fulfillment, and to maintain that fulfillment, I then had to take a look. It's like, well, then where is the Dayle time? When am I spending time on me, for me, with me, only me? Because for the longest time in my career, I thought that was a very selfish thing to do. But as I've grown and developed myself, I see that if I am not eating well, exercising, reading what I want to read, and I'm talking about mind candy, people. I'm not talking about research articles anymore. I'm talking about things that just brings me joy. And if I'm not, when the weather's good, if I'm not on the golf course, then I'm not a very happy girl. So these are and it takes a long time to play 18 holes of golf. So I'm a 9-hole girl. That's the thing I like to do because I can get that done in about 2 hours or less. So I have found my own sweet spot in terms of building in the time for Dayle because I get a lot of joy from many, many people. I've got to find some joy in myself.
All right, well, that's all the questions that have been submitted right now. Oh, we just got one more. Man, y'all are quick on it today. Okay, so the next question we have is identify the source of fulfill. Oh, this is just a comment, which I so appreciate. So
Yes.
thank you. Identify the source of fulfillment. It's a
Love
tough
it.
word today. They love it. All right. Well, again, we'll wait a couple more minutes for any last minute questions. But I do want to remind you at this time to email Dayle if you want to take advantage of that session with her that does end today. So make sure if that's something you're interested in, to email her by the end of the day. All right, looks like we don't have any more questions. So I just want to thank Dayle today again. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and encouragement with us today. And thank you also for all of our attendees for participating. I want to encourage you to check all of our career resources and events, both electronic and in person, provided to you by the Vanderbilt Alumni Association. Probably next week, since we are gearing up towards the end of the week, I will be sending up a follow-up email with an archived link of this webinar and a request for feedback, as well as any details for future events. We are always looking to improve upon our offerings to alumni, so please be in touch and let us know how we can best support you. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you.